Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Andy Hau, and I am part of NTU in Singapore. And I want to be able to share with you some of the work that we've been doing in this part of the globe in terms of how to support aging well for an ever-increasing aging population. So we all know that Singapore, as with other major advanced society in the world like Hong Kong, Taiwan, we are moving towards a super age population. In fact, in Singapore specifically, within the next 5 to 6 years, we'll be super age, where about 1 in 4 of us will be 65 and above. And even though we are living longer, in fact, Singapore has one of the longest life expectancy in the world at 83.2 years right now. But if you adjust for the health and illness condition, the average life-adjusted life expectancy is only 72.2 years, 74.2 years. That means that we live about 9 to 10 years in disability. And sure enough, according to our statistics, 8 out of 10 seniors in Singapore have at least one chronic health condition. And about 40% of them have comorbidities, multiple comorbidities. In terms of mental health, 11% are diagnosed with dementia and 10% are diagnosed with depression. We know that these numbers are underrepresented because people are not fully being diagnosed, or they're not receiving treatment as they should. So what do we do in terms of healthcare to support people who are chronically ill and older folks who are becoming more frail? Well, traditionally, we employed intervention models. So when there's a disease, when there's a condition, we do something to address it. But in more contemporary public health approach, instead of addressing and doing intervention, we want to do preventive work. We want to be able to elevate and enhance the internal strength and resilience of these older adults so they can attain holistic health even before chronic condition emerges for them. And in more recent years, and actually across time, we know that one of the major medium to promote healthy living and also holistic health is actually using the arts. The arts have long been known to have tangible effects on health, longevity, and quality of life. And if you don't have to look far, WHO published a major report back in 2019, consolidating all the research that's been done internationally to really understand that art does have really crucial impact in elevating mental health as well as physical health through interventional study. But what we also know is that it's actually really hard to engage older adults to go and do the arts because they may feel shy, they may feel intimidated by the art itself, and therefore it's challenging to get them started. What's also lacking in the communities, there's a lack of mixed method approach as well as population data. A lot of these research came from intervention. So if I give you something, I expect that you would improve from it. But what if people are not going through an intervention? What if people are just doing art on their own on a day-to-day basis? We don't know a whole lot about them. So we really don't know how everyday practice of arts can actually improve health and mental health. And no research has been done in Singapore or actually in the greater Asian region. So with that understanding, the National Art Council of Singapore, particularly my team, has initiated the Arts for Aging Well study back in 2016-17. This is a really comprehensive study that involved a certified random household survey of 1,067 people that we knocked on the door, asked them about, do you do arts? What type of arts do you do? How long do you do it for? What's the frequency? We also assessed them on a series of psychometrics in terms of quality of life, self-perceived health, mental health, and so on, to see if there's correlation and association between art engagement and their holistic wellness. We also conducted a parallel qualitative focus group study to ask people about their experiences and narrative in engaging the arts and what does that do to health and how do they think about art is helpful for them. So today we'll focus on the findings from the quantitative study mostly. These are the demographic of 1,067 people that we interviewed in-depthly, and they are very representative of the Singaporean population. So we have about 55% female, 45% male, 81% of Chinese, and 11% of Malay, and 7% of Indian. And the rest is comparable. There's really a great similarity between our sample population and the general population of Singapore of older adults. So we asked a series of simple questions to begin with, and what we discovered is about 60% of the seniors that we interviewed actually engaged and attended art events. They go to the movies, they go to the cinema, they go to the library, they listen to music and so on. But only 17% of them actually participate in the arts or do any art. They sing, they paint. Only 17% of them do so. And when we asked them about, what does art do to you, the response were overwhelmingly positive. 78% believe that arts inspire them. 76% believe that art helped them express their thoughts, feelings, and ideas. And 74% believe that art helped them to obtain a better understanding of people of different culture and background different from them. So it brings it actually promotes inclusion and participation. So we did more advanced statistical analysis. So within the 1,067 people, there are some who does art, some who don't do art, some who attended art, some who don't attend art. And what we did a propensity score matching. Within the same sample size, we looked at people who did do art, look at all the demographics, and find the same people that has the same similar demographic but just don't do art. And we compare and contrast them. This allows me to mimic a randomized control trial without actually doing a randomized control trial. Not only can we look at association, but also causality of effects. And once we are able to match these individuals, we're then comparing apples to apples and oranges to oranges. And through this propensity score matching with the multiple groups that we're able to identify, we then run t-test analysis on them. And what we discovered is we looked at quality of life as one of the major outcomes. And just by simply attending art events, people are able to experience higher level of quality of life by 3%, effect size 0.15. If people actually engage in the arts, they paint, they sing, they draw, they actually experience 5% increase in quality of life, effect size 0.36. To give you a frame of reference, effect size is crucial because effect size determines the magnitude of change the intervention can bring to the people. To give you another frame of reference, the New England Journal of Medicine published an article back in 2010 to report on the effect size of antidepressants for the treatment of depression, Prozac, which is the most widely prescribed antidepressants in the world. Its effect size is only 0.26. And look at what art can do for uplifting quality of life, effect size 0.36. We looked specifically now into the people who just attend art events and what happens to them. By simply going to a concert, listening to music, reading a book, their self-perceived health elevate by 5%, effect size 0.16. The sense of belonging, connectedness also elevated by 3%, 0.16. So just by attending events, passively receiving art information elevates quality of life, physical health, as well as sense of belonging. For the people who actually participate and actually do art, not only do the physical health increase by 7%, effect size 0.25, the mental health also improved by 3%, so effect size 0.18. Furthermore, they experience greater spiritual health overall, 8%, 0.37 effect size. They also experience a greater sense of peace, effect size 0.38 by 8%, and also experience greater meaning in life by 10%, effect size 0.5. So these are really wonderful numbers, and it really goes to show that by participating and attending art events can bring about so much positive mental health as well as physical health. As we mentioned earlier, we actually did a very comprehensive qualitative study as well. And this is the model that was generated. The model, if you look at it, it can start from the blue side, looking at the factors that empower people to engage in the art, to look at the barriers that stop them from doing so, and what do they need to go through in order for them to experience the art events, and once they do, what are the benefits that they glean? And so focusing on the benefits, there are a number of benefits that people obtain from engaging in the arts. Many of them believe that arts help them to experience health transformation. They experience better cognitive health, physical health, as well as psychological health. One of our Indian participants says that I found that during the state when I'm painting, my mind was not actually thinking of anything else. It sort of put me in a calm and meditative state. And it's something that we rarely to get into that state sometime. So that really goes to show how art can really bring a piece of calm, a state of mental wellness. People also experience a sense of spiritual growth. They experience spiritual growth through attunement, empowerment, as well as greater meaning to life. One of our Sikh participants says that you learn to discover yourself and you start doing a lot of things related to art. The normal daily humdrum of life and all that doesn't make you connect to yourself at all. So spiritual growth allows people to experience flow and competency. The third major benefits of the arts come into social integration. People feel much connected. They are able to cultivate intergenerational bond and also experience generativity, a very important milestone, according to Erik Erikson in his life developmental stages. So one of our Indian participants says that I like to impart the knowledge to younger people, sharing whatever you have learned, you have acquired over the years with the younger generation. Teaching them about arts becomes the aim of my life, and that gives them a great deal of self-determination, meaning, and relatedness. And finally, they experience a sense of culture transcendence. They're able to identify themselves with the culture through the arts. They're able to express themselves more creatively, and they can also build legacy. One of our Malay participants says that to future generation, if we all pass away, the arts is what we can remember us, they can remember us by. The arts left behind by us, the culture, we can become a memory of our generation. We cannot be separated from arts, arts cannot be separated from us. And this really becomes an impetus for continuous personality growth. So this study has been published and widely broadcast in multiple media, and it becomes the foundational piece for our major public policy to infuse more funding into the art domain in Singaporean context. So that's great, but what else can we potentially do? We know that art is good. We have all the data to support it, but is there something we can potentially do that is relevant, culturally sensitive, and specific to the needs of the local population? Which then brings me to this very simple, a very quick introduction of a program that we introduced or developed called Artisan, short for Aspiration and Resilience through Intergenerational Storytelling and Art-Based Narrative. So based on the study that we have done, the findings that we have, and also the information from our participants, that one of the art forms that they really enjoy is storytelling. So knowing that storytelling can form a very critical component of narrative identity processing, which helps us to further establish our sense of identity and form healing, we then created a program that is only 5 weeks long. And this program looks like this. It's really using an integration of the museum art space, the creative art spaces, art making process, as well as storytelling process, and meeting the intergenerational component, recruiting participants from the community that are between the age of 18 to 35, and also those who are above the age of 65 to come together and meet in the museum as a place for them to learn about each other, to learn about the arts. And so the intervention framework looks like this. In week one, we looks into, so we started with a curated tour of a different part of a museum that looks at different theme. And then after they gone through the tour, they go into activity room, which led by an art therapist or an artist to do a piece of art about themselves. And then they get a chance to share with the partner as well as the rest of the group. So in week one, we focus on the theme of national heritage, the food and the game that people play. And then we invite them to create a piece of art that represent a plate of food that they really like. So they use clay to create, let's say, a plate of fried noodles, and they can tell the story. Why is this fried noodle so important to me? So the youth and the elderly learn about each other, and they get a chance to share their story. In week two, the same format, but this time we talked about social connection. In week four, we talk about resilience. So in Singapore, we know that this used to be a nation that was aligned with Malaysia. We want to be part of Malaysia, but that never came to fruition. And the founding father, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, went to national television and cried on TV, was so disappointed. But within a short 50-year time frame, Singapore has become one of the most affluent and advanced society in the entire world. And that showed a great deal of resilience and adversity. And listening to the national story and reflecting on their own story, creating an art piece about it, they can learn about their own resilient story as well. In week four, we talk about future and the dreams that they have for Singapore. And week five, we bring everything back to the community where the seniors reside and hold an art exhibition for them. So they're no longer research participants, they're artists with stories to tell with the younger participants. So we conducted a gold standard randomized control trial with this. We have a total of 68 participants, and we randomized into two groups. And the results from the overall analysis found that the intervention group experienced higher level of life satisfaction upon completing Artisan, effect size 0.526, doubling that of what antidepressant can do for depression. When we follow intervention group across time, their life satisfaction continued to maintain at a high level, effect size 0.66. The loneliness dropped significantly, effect size 0.608, and the level of resilience also increased, effect size 0.5457. And there are multiple dimensional resilience that people are able to experience and glean from, including the ability to perform under stress. They're much more actively engaged in the world. They can regulate their emotion better, and they're much more openness to life experiences. We found even more benefits from the young and the old. They can read about the paper that's been published in Frontiers in Psychology. What we also glean from the participants is that the intervention itself helped them to build resilience and build capacity. One of our younger participants says that previous I was more individualistic and shy. Now I know that I have the capacity to try a new form of art and work somewhere very different from me. Artists also foster nationhood. One of the Chinese participants says, sharing ideas, young and old, learning from each other, unique Singapore from different times. The places may be gone, but our memories and heritage remains the same. And finally, artists help build social connection and gratitude. A younger artist says that these 5 weeks have taught me how to better communicate with the elderly and not to disregard our differences, but to celebrate them. It also made me aware of how different we are when we're growing up and made me more appreciative of the things that we do. An older person says that I have a great appreciation of working with the youth. Artisan has broken the intergenerational barrier. We didn't stop there because the museum found our work to be so insightful that we actually showcase all of these work in our National Day, Family Day, and Grandparents' Day showcase in the gallery itself. And to conclude, I want to share with you a very short video about the Artisan project itself.
整个活动都喜欢，比如说去这个保育园啊， 真的感恩，我们从来没有想到再去，因为我们从前年轻的时候有去过，现在去了看到了各种不同的展出的物件，并且还有人解释那个物件的背景，所以得益不浅。
In Artisan, what we did was to come together with the project team from NTU. Coming together to create the program was very meaningful because we actually had to think about the topics, got deeper along the way because we started talking about cultural spaces and we started talking about the things in the nation's history that actually caused the seniors to build resilience. So with that, the youth, listening from them, it was something very special, I think, for the youth. I think the museum offers that kind of a safe space for them to share their experiences that were also very authentic.
I think it's been overwhelmingly exciting for me. I was initially really attracted to the idea of this project because of the storytelling and art component, right? And I think having gone through the whole 5 weeks, it's just been an amazing experience to hear from the participants like what they have learned. So for example, you hear today that Zimin was saying you don't need to be good at art to do art. You just really need to be doing it with someone that you like and it's enjoyable, and that's what matters. I think that really then boils down to what this whole program is about for me. It's really building the relationships between the elderly and the youth. To hear that and to really experience what they have been talking about, which is they really treasure the friendship and the relationship that is formed and they want to keep that going. I kind of feel like we've achieved something.
Artisan is quite a good project because it kind of helped the elderly to find a new interest. From what I observed, it can be used as a form of therapy.
I think it also provides them an outlet in terms of sharing stories in the past, that they may not have a chance to share, but through this process of creating art, like session 2, where we had to sort of like invite them to think about the landscape in Singapore. We get this wonderful account of past landscape in Singapore that we now don't see, and I think as an artist, as I was listening to those stories, it's actually quite fascinating for me.
It's been really enjoyable, especially today where I finally get to see all the final products get put together, and I think it's a very nice touch with like that Jian Cai thing. I was very happy for my senior because I felt that she really put in a lot of effort, and she even went home, make all the plants, and she went to cut like real plants also to poke into our future Singapore art piece. To them, it's like something that they never think they'll be able to do, which is to put out an art exhibition, and I think that builds a lot of confidence in them, and it's something that they're very proud of.
Storytelling has always been a very important avenue for people to build their sense of identity and to connect with each other. Being able to use stories as a means to connect and to build resilience and to help people establish a stronger sense of identity, I think it's really crucial in a society whereby we are bombarded with loneliness, we're bombarded with isolation, and particularly amongst the youth and the seniors, where oftentimes they don't get the adequate amount of support that they need in their daily life. And so being able to establish this program that links the two generations together and to connect them and to help them build relational bonds through their stories and aligning it with the national heritage and the national stories of Singapore, I think this is a very unique and innovative program that we have not seen in the world. So I hope that provides you with some insights of how we created the program, informed by evidence, and also to be able to use a participation action research approach to develop a program with the people, for the people, by the people. William Shakespeare once said that our bodies are a garden, through which our wills are a garden. And I want to add to that. I think that we can let the gardens of art strengthen our minds and heals our soul. And I want to encourage all of you to think about the ways that we can apply art in our own life, in our own community, and with all the resources that we put into cultural heritage sites, such as the M Museum in Hong Kong, we could potentially integrate this and apply this and translate this into Hong Kong or other regions around the world. Thank you very much for your time.